Now we're going to import the bad robot and animate him. I'm going to hit Command I. I'm looking for the file name badbotmf2.mov. And once I import him, I'm going to put him on my composition window. And I'd like him to begin at second number 19, where our final iteration of the robot that you created comes onto screen. So I can hold the Shift key and drag it and snap to the playback head. Now I need him to be pointing in the opposite direction. So that's a scale function. I'll hit S on the keyboard and I'll unlock the aspect ratio, and I'll put a minus sign in front of the x-axis, and I'll hit return to set it, and I'll lock it once again. Now I need him to start off on the right hand side, but it's just not long enough of a time frame for that animation. So just like the other components, I'm going to right click on it in the project window, and I'm going to go to interpret footage main, and I'll just give him maybe a loop of 15, and I'll stretch him out to the end of my timeline. Now another thing about it is that the values are quite dark. So if I drag through to show both of our robots on screen, you can see his values are much darker than they need to be. With the Battlebot movie clip selected, I'll go to Effects, and I'm going to go to Color Correction and Levels. You may have to stretch your effects window open so that you can see all three value sliders in the levels effect. Now that I've got it open, I'm going to drag on the one on the far right where the light values are, and I'll pull that to the left. And what I'm doing is I'm adjusting the input of white light, and I'm going to leave it at about 185. Now I want him to start off screen at second number 19. So I'll drag him off, and I'll put my playback head at 19 seconds. Or I can simply select either his clip or the third iteration of our robot. And with it selected, if I hit I on the keyboard, because our clips both begin at 19 seconds, it places it there. I'm going to hit P for position. I'll drop the first keyframe for position. I'll go to 2100, and I'll drag the bad robot onto screen, just so they're facing opposite each other. Now I want to have the bad robot explode when the hammer falls down on him. And in order to do that, I need to add the shatter effect. So I'm going to put my playback head at the beginning of the bad robot clip, which is 19 seconds. And with that clip selected, I'm going to go to Layer, and I'm going to choose Pre-Compose Layer. And I'm going to choose Move All Attributes. And I might rename this Battlebot Shatter. And you'll see that the entire layer turns brown and goes back to the beginning of the timeline. Now the reason I left my playback head at the beginning of that Battlebot clip is because I can now cut it visually so I can see where that character comes on screen. You'll notice that once you've added the shatter using Move All Attributes, that the clip engulfs the entire screen, which means the shadow will go completely off our composition window, and that's what we want. I'm going to place my playback head anywhere on screen where the robot has already appeared. And I'll go to Effects, and I'm going to go to Simulation. I'm going to choose Shatter. Now it'll immediately disappear, and you'll see a wireframe of bricks in a circle. In the upper left-hand corner of the shatter filter, I'm going to go to View and change it from Wireframe Force to Rendered. I'm going to open up Force 1, and I'm going to change the radius to 0, and our robot will appear again. Now I'm going to place my playback head at a point at which the hammer comes down on him, and I'm going to place my first keyframe for shatter under force 1 where the radius is. Leaving it at 0, I'll just drag my playback head in time of 4 or 5 seconds, and then I'm going to drag on the radius until all the pieces disappear from the screen. Now, if I start to drag my playback head slightly to the left again, I can see the pieces come back on to screen. Now, when you first introduce this, it'll probably be in the form of bricks, and I don't want bricks. I'd like them to look like shards of glass. So under the Shape tab, you'll see the default is bricks. I'll click on it, and I'll choose glass, and you'll see that it looks more like shards. Now while I'm up there, I'm going to change the repetitions from the default 10. Maybe I'll make them about 20. And then I'm going to open up the Physics tab. And in the Physics tab, I'll make the gravity 0. Another thing that I'm going to change under the Shape tab is the extrusion depth. I don't like the thickness of it, so I'll just 0 that out. Now, the more you increase the repetitions, the more pieces you get, the smaller they are. One last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to locate the shatter point right in the middle of the body of the Battlebot. In order to do that, once again, under force 1, you'll see position, and there's a little target. I'm going to click on that little target, and then I can click on my composition window and locate that shatter in the center of my object. Now if I drag through, he's shattering from the center of my Battlebot out. So if we were to play this, I'll set my work area in and out point to control just that part of the composition, and I'll tap my space bar. Now that we've added our shadow, we're going to import the explosion video. I'll hit Command I, and I'll go to the Project tab, and you'll see explosion.mp4. And when I open it, and then put it on screen, you'll see that it is a blank green. Now I want to move it to where the action takes place with the shatter. So I'm going to start by moving it down to approximately second number 22. And then with the clip selected, I'm going to go to Effects, Keying, Key Light 1.2. And in the Effects channel in the left-hand corner, you'll see the effects for Key Light 1.2. I'm going to click on the eyedropper next to where it says Screen Color, and then I'm going to click on the green. Now if I drag through my timeline, the explosion is superimposed over my composition and the green background is gone. I'm going to look for a blend mode that I like. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and hit plus on the keyboard. And when I get a bright version of this where there's some translucence to it, say with Add, I'm going to keep it set at that blend mode. Now I want to time this so that the explosion or the shatter and the explosion are timed pretty much the same way. So I can drag through my playback head until I start to see the pieces separate out from the shatter effect, and then I'll just drag that clip to the beginning of the playback head. I'm isolating the area with the work area bar, and I'm just going to preview that. And now we have both our explosion and our shatter timed.